welcome to Main Game, the gaming show that comes with all its bases loaded and on the ball with insights into video games and esports. I'm your host, Aoife.
And I'm your co-host, Lewis Larkin from Kakuchopurei, at the offensive on the field of glory, winner takes all, ready to kick off. Was that a little bit too dramatic for the intro?
Nah, I think that's all right.
This episode, well, that's good, because this week, for our last episode of the season for Main Game, we'll be talking about sports games. Yes, we've touched on multiplayer online battle arenas, aka MOBAs, and fighting games, but what about titles that are based on real-life sports, like basketball and football? What a better way to end on a high sports-fueled note, especially with a major football game on the horizon this month.
I'm very sure that, we'll be talking about is easier to understand compared to the offside rules.
Indeed.
Okay. By the way, as we had mentioned before, our shirt that we wear today is sponsored by Haka, so thank you so much, Haka. Without further ado, let's get on to our starting lineup of our last episode of Main Game. Okay, so Luis, what's your favourite sports game?
I would probably have to say FIFA. Growing up as a wee lad in the UK, it was every boy's dream to be a professional football player. But with me being a gamer, I fell in love with the idea of being able to play as my favourite football team or players. But what about you, Aoife? Are you a particular fan of any sports?
Well, to be honest, I'm actually one of the RTM Grandstand Malaysian Football League hosts, such as Super League, FA Cup, and also Malaysia Cup 2023. And it's actually my very first time hosting a football grandstand, and I've been loving every minute of it. So if you ask me if I'm a fan, absolutely.
Then you're going to find the next feature very invigorating. We've talked about the history of esports. We've also talked about the history of multiplayer online battle arenas, or MOBAs.
Okay, so we've also talked about the history of role-playing games and fighting games. To cap off the season, how about one for the books when it comes to sports video games? Let's take a look.
Since the dawn of time, mankind has yearned for competition, which is why we have sports. Two rival teams and players going at it with set rules and scoring points, be it using balls to get to opposing sides of the court or racing to the finish line. And because not all of us can compete in real sports, there's the alternative: video games based on real-life sports. It all began in the 70s with this progenitor of competitive gaming. You are basically looking at the first instance of digital tennis, Pong. This Atari classic was the start of a beautiful relationship between video games and sports. The Atari, with its console and two joystick setup, was perfect for 1 versus 1 competition. So of course, numerous clones popped up. Japan took it one step further with the introduction of soccer, released by Taito in 1973. This arcade game features a green background to simulate a football playing field and goals on each side. Months later, a hockey variant of that, called Pro Hockey, came out and set boundaries around the screen and only had a small gap for the goal. Taito also made TV Basketball, a 1974 title that featured character sprites in a sports game for the very first time in history. The sports game snowball effect started with the late 70s Sega football game World Cup, which comes with a unique trackball controller, followed by Atari Football, the first game to emulate American football. 1980s Basketball from Mattel was the first basketball video game to feature the National Basketball Association license, adding prestige to the title. This led to other sports organizations and federations putting their names out for prestigious titles, like your FIFAs and NFLs. Konami's Track and Field series made its start in 1983, which features multiple decathlon challenges, meaning tons of different minigames, thus adding worldwide appeal for casual and hardcore players everywhere. All with easy-to-learn but tough-to-master controls. The late 80s and 90s was definitely where things took a turn for the better, thanks to 16-bit hardware and then current PC tech to produce amazing graphical and sports gaming experiences. It's also a time when home consoles get better games and arguably viable ports of existing arcade titles.
EA Sports
was definitely the pioneer for sports games, especially with how they handled American football games with its soon-to-be flagship title, John Madden Football, back in 1989. With intuitive controls and groundbreaking interface that lets you plan out plays, it's clearly the game that pushed EA to make sports games its meal ticket, be it basketball or football. Another standout was Tecmo's Super Bowl. Even if you're not familiar with American football, it's still one of the more influential titles with its presentation, gameplay, and its use of real-life players via the NFL license for the time. We cannot forget about the over-the-top arcade titles that dominated the scene, with the most universal one being NBA Jam! A fan favorite due to its arcade nature, use of real-life basketball players in exaggerated game form, and arcade-style approach with top-notch controls. As gaming slowly transitions to 3D polygons and graphics, we get more lifelike animations, play models, and all-around more simulation-like experiences. What about extreme sports? Though California Games started that trend back in 1987, that genre of sports did not pick up until after 1996 with 3D snow-based titles like Namco's Alpine Racer series, Sega's Top Skater in 1997, and the PlayStation 1 classic Tony Hawk Pro Skater. The Tony Hawk branded skateboarding game let players input multiple combos to get the most points with sick tricks, popularizing extreme sports games and influencing many other companies to beat it at its own game. 2000s onward was when sports games were for all. There's no shortage of these games for fans worldwide, though innovations beyond just gameplay tweaks and graphical upgrades are missing. That's when 2006 came in. Nintendo launched its game-changing console, the Wii, and with it came Wii Sports, which introduced motion controls for the masses. While it's not for the hardcore sports fan, its accessibility means a new gaming market who want to get their feet wet in the genre. The world of sports games is vast and ever-growing. Classic titles in the 80s and 90s helped pave the way for football and basketball games to look and play better and more realistic, despite some companies just playing it safe and not changing much in their flagship titles with each yearly iteration. Still, there is hope since there are a number of indie game makers who are injecting creativity into the genre that's still being beaten like a dead horse. So all isn't lost, as the prestige of sports games still lives on.
And that was an extensive dive into the realm of sports video games. So tell me, Luis, is this your first time seeing a FIFA as a 16-bit game?
Yes, it is. It does have a kishy charm to it. I feel like it captures the liveliness of football while it samples the sounds and pixels. Although it doesn't feel like a game made by EA.
I think I know what you mean, actually. You know, back then it looked like a game made with love and care, attention to detail even, instead of an annual roster update that costs over 200 ringgit.
I know, right? I mean, I do feel that sport games with annual releases aren't exactly being innovative. They're not really known for that, at least, especially with each passing year. In fact, one can even argue that the features from early 2000 onwards have been cut with every yearly release. I'm very sure that dozens upon dozens of people have made video essays about this already.
See, I'm tired of playing these big budget sports titles. I noticed the video mentioned in the sports title.
Yes, there are. We have a list, actually, which, for example, Golf Story, which is a 2D roguelike RPG where you become the best golfer in a fictional town, and it's available on the Nintendo Switch. There's also Windjammers 2, which is essentially a sports game that mixes frisbee, tennis, and football, but in a 1v1 setting. It features lovely 2D graphics, a banging soundtrack, and addictive competitive gameplay that's easy to pick up. If you understand tennis and hockey or know how to play Pong, then you can play Windjammers 2. There's also Lethal League Blaze, which is a sports game that is like baseball, except remove all the parts where you involve whacking a ball and instead hitting the ball over to the opponent's face to score.
That's a lot of, balls in our court, metaphorically, speaking. And with that, we're in the lead with our sports games recap. It's time to take our first quarter break. We'll be right back after these commercials. We've talked about the general history of sports video games, from how it has evolved, but what about the world's most beloved sports of all time, football or soccer for some? For our second play of this gaming show match, we talk about why football games are fun.
With an estimated 4 billion football fans around the world, many have experienced the dominance of EA Sports FC and eFootball, formerly FIFA and Pro Evolution Soccer. But before we get into that, let's quickly dive into the history of football games. Starting in 1982 with soccer on the Atari 2600. Over time, titles like Sensible Soccer, Actual Soccer, and International Superstar Soccer pushed technological boundaries. In the early 2000s, EA Sports' FIFA and Konami's Pro Evolution Soccer emerged as giants, sparking innovation and authentic experiences. Pro Evolution Soccer, now eFootball, have since strengthened its marketing efforts with ambassadors like Lionel Messi, while FIFA evolved into EA Sports FC, promising realism and innovation. Key elements in EA FC 24 include volumetric capture and opt analytics, creating a distinct experience. Player uniqueness and more balanced gameplay redefine the game's strategy. The pacing in EA FC 24 may seem slightly slower, mirroring real-life characteristics thanks to Opta Analytics. While that's great and all, you may be asking yourself, why is there a new football game every year? While the answer can be seen as quite simple, I think the better question to ask is, what is it that makes games like FIFA and eFootball not only work but thrive year after year? To answer this, we need to understand key factors that contributed to their enduring success. Firstly, realism and authenticity. One of the foremost reasons for the popularity of these games is their commitment to realism. Players, stadiums, and even the minutest details are meticulously recreated, offering fans an experience that closely mirrors the real thing. The ability to control your favorite teams and players in lifelike settings is a massive draw. Next up is the gameplay depth. While accessible to newcomers, both FIFA and eFootball offer a deep and rewarding gaming experience for seasoned players. The strategic elements, tactics, and player abilities create a dynamic gameplay environment where every match feels unique. The depth of gameplay keeps players engaged and coming back for more. And lastly, the social and competitive aspect of the games. These games are designed for both solitary players and social gaming experiences. Whether you're challenging friends on the couch or competing online against players from around the world, the social and competitive aspects of FIFA and eFootball are undeniable. They serve as a platform for friendly rivalries and the pursuit of virtual football glory. Through that competitiveness comes passion and love for the game. Passion and love that may even drive you to compete in said game professionally. I mean, don't hear it from me. Hear it from the current Malaysian eFootball champion, Haikal.
Nama saya Muhammad HaikalMY Muhammad Noor. Saya mewakili JDT GBX untuk kategori eFootball. So, IGN saya HaikalMY. Saya dah bermain daripada 2018 lagi sampai sekarang. Startednya dari dulu saya main bola yang real punya. So, saya injured. Bila saya injured tu, saya baru start main game bola. So, start daripada situ saya join tournament. Bila saya dapat join tournament, saya dapat mewakili Malaysia. Start daripada dapat wakil Malaysia, saya ke Thailand. Bila ke Thailand, saya dapat mewakili JDT sampai sekarang. So, perjalanan tu agak panjang lah sampai sekarang ni. Untuk kompetitif, saya start daripada 2018 mewakili Malaysia ke Asian Games. 2019 saya dapat tawaran ke kelab Thailand selama 2 musim. Selepas tu COVID, so saya fokus online tournament. Then habis je COVID, saya juara gold medal untuk Commonwealth. Dan habis Commonwealth saya dapat mewakili JDT GBX sampai sekarang. Untuk training, saya diberi masa selama 8 jam satu hari. Saya akan tak semua masa tu saya habiskan dekat training. Saya tengok video game-game yang sebelum-sebelum ni, saya akan kaji balik semua. So memang satu hari tu saya akan fokus untuk 8 jam.
Haikal stands as a testament to someone who had aspirations stripped away from them, and video games were there for them throughout it all. It just so happened that Haikal was extremely talented and hardworking enough to become the best in the nation. But what makes his story truly remarkable is that it's not just about winning championships. It's about the passion, dedication, and love for the game that has driven him to reach the pinnacle of competitive eFootball. As we look ahead to the release of EA Sports FC 24 and the continued growth of eFootball, we invite you to experience the magic of virtual football for yourself. Whether you're a seasoned player or a newcomer to the game, the world of football gaming is vast and welcoming. And who knows, perhaps a competitive career in football games may be in the cards for you too.
And that's another goal for us, a clean shot at the wonderful world of football games, I must add. Among all the many FIFA games that have come out throughout the year, which entry is your favourite and why?
FIFA 17 probably has to be my favourite as it introduced the Journey, a story mode like game mode where you follow Alex Hunter on his, journey to become a professional football player. The narrative was just so enticing for me.
I heard that publisher Electronic Arts lost the FIFA license. How did that happen?
Well, EA failed to reach a new licensing agreement with the World Soccer governing body, FIFA. To put things into perspective, the relationship started out in 1993 with FIFA International Soccer. So that's a 29-year marriage now quashed. All because FIFA was asking for more money, doubling the fees of what they asked last time.
It always boils down to revenue and payouts when it comes to big companies, right?
For all the good that EA has done with sports games back in the late 90s and 2000s, and 80s even, the company has been, how shall we say, business-minded, especially given the HD era in 2006 as soon as it kicked off. But they always have been, not to say, they've never not been, but it's more to do so with, they're a lot more obvious now, especially from 2007 onwards.
Wasn't that the year that the CEO, John Riccitello, took over EA, until he left in 2013?
Yes.
Okay, and at this point of time, he's the CEO of video game engine company Unity?
Yes, and I'm sure that someone like him with his business acumen will not make his customers angry over some recent policy changes, destroying all goodwill built up by the company over the many years.
Okay, well, now's a good time as any to take a halftime break. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back after these commercials. And we are back. All right, it's the moment that you've been waiting for.
Yes, indeed it is. What is it?
Okay, well, it's the last episode of our inaugural season. And what better way to end this season, our episode, with a proverbial home fun run. And a game-saving three-pointer, a match-ending Hail Mary pass, a career-defining penalty shootout goal.
Yes, we are talking about our top picks for games of 2023, at least until September, because October, November and December haven't quite come and gone yet.
Wow, okay, I'm very excited to find out what we have in store here, so let's roll the clip.
With just a few months until 2023 ends, and this segment being the last for Main Game's inaugural season, we believe it's fitting to bring up the best games you should buy this year. We'll briefly mention Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield, and Sea of Stars, since we covered those titles in previous episodes. Our 15-word summary: awesome RPG experiences for all, catering to fantasy, sci-fi, and 90s retro pixel gaming fans. Special mention goes to Hi-Fi Rush, the action game/music rhythm mashup with a cartoony vibe and ode to late 90s and 2000s gaming. And also a big shout out to Street Fighter 6, the best single-player and multiplayer 2D fighting game around.
Sweep the leg.
Now for the rest. A Space for the Unbound offers a unique narrative-driven experience set in 90s rural Indonesia, made by Mojiken Studios. The game's narrative explores themes of friendship, school bullying, anxiety, depression, and domestic abuse, through its nostalgia-inducing visuals and music, topped out with a reality-warping twist. We also have Planet of Lana, a sci-fi adventure game with lovely graphics and lush narrative, coupled with lovely puzzles. For fans of the Star Wars franchise, you cannot miss Star Wars Jedi Survivor from Respawn Entertainment and EA. Taking place 5 years after the events of Fallen Order, players assume the role of a survivor of the Jedi Purge and must navigate a dangerous and treacherous world. It features intense combat mechanics and an engaging storyline set in the beloved Star Wars universe, and a full-on improvement over its prequel. And if you play it now, it's more or less bug-free and patched up, mostly. Remakes have become increasingly popular in the gaming industry, offering players a chance to revisit beloved classics with improved visuals and gameplay mechanics. In 2023, we're blessed with two, Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space. The former from Capcom enhances the overall gameplay experience for a new generation of survival horror fans, while the latter from EA Motive introduces modern graphics and game mechanics while keeping the fear of space and tight spaces and necromorphs intact. These 2023 games have not only provided countless hours of enjoyment, but have also pushed the boundaries of storytelling, technology, and artistic expression. We have a few more months left until 2023 ends, so here are our upcoming anticipated titles for the rest of the year.
And that was our best games of 2023 so far recap. So, Luis, what are your favorite titles of 2023? I know Starfield has to be up there.
Well, yes, Starfield is definitely one of my picks, as in the first week of it being released, I already put 60 hours into the game. Another pick of mine would be Street Fighter 6. I've really been enjoying Street Fighter 6 since its launch, and although I'm still very much a noob, I've been enjoying the game nonetheless.
I honestly wish I had more time to, at least finish one of these. But I definitely trust your judgment and, of course, Kakuchopurei when it comes to the cream of the crop. Since we're on a competitive gaming bender, I am curious as to what's happening with Leap. It was on the first 2 episodes of main game, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you'd like to share some updates about what's in store in the future.
Well, Leap Season 2 has been confirmed, and it will be happening this year during October. But for more details, you can go head over to our site, kakuchopurei.com.
All right, and with that, our sports episode has crossed the finish line. It's already the end of the penalty kick shootout, and we've scored the winning goal. Thank you all for watching. If you want to watch past episodes, do check us out on RTMKlik, or you can watch us on YouTube via Kakuchopurei's channel.
And also check out our website, kakuchopurei.com, for updates, reviews of games from October onward.
Also, don't forget to leave a comment on our RTM Facebook, which is Sukan TV RTM, and you can leave any comment of our first season. Of course, don't forget to watch our second season of main game next year. And also, we would like to say thank you so much to Haka for sponsoring our show and hoping for a next season with you guys, okay? And of course, I'm signing off with these words of wisdom: in sports and video games is the thrill of the fight. Rise up to the challenge of your rivals. Watch them all with the eye of the tiger. I'm your host, Aoife.
And I'm your co-host, Lewis.
Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.